1-3 right now are the Milwaukee Bucks, and maybe surprising people with how bad they've been so far this season. Bill, I know you have an article coming out on CBSSports.com very soon, kind of chronicling what's going on in Milwaukee. What can you tell us?
I talked to several league sources across the NBA, and outside of Milwaukee, they're not happy. People are watching this start for the Bucks and really their brutal schedule of the next 10 days with a lot of glee. There's a rising sense of confidence that if things go badly in Milwaukee, that Giannis could be available for trade, would really force his way out of Milwaukee in the next year. In fact, one Western Conference executive who thinks they could be on the mix and Giannis thinks he could be available even before the trade deadline. I am told that Giannis has already let some people know that places he's eyeing are Miami and New York. Ash, I'm sorry, the other New York, I'm told it's the Nets and not the Knicks that he has his eyes on if he decides that he wants a move. And I'm also told that Doc Rivers has really expanded his reach in terms of his influence, has, I'm told, taken over a lot of the decision-making from that front office. One source of an Eastern Conference rival team described it as a mess. And so if the Bucks aren't very good and it's early in the season, if things don't go well, if the Lillard partnership continues not to work, if sort of being haunted by that Drew Holiday trade and how good the Celtics became continues in Milwaukee, there's a real sense across the NBA that Giannis Antetokounmpo, at some point, who turns 30 in December, could say, it's not working. I don't want to entrust my legacy to a project that isn't going to be successful. And a lot of people out there who covet this guy think that he could force himself out of Milwaukee, maybe before this season ends, and certainly if things go badly next summer.
Yeah, Bill, to your point, we've seen superstars move on when it comes to maybe that third or fourth year of their second contract. The latest, your thoughts on this? Could we really see Giannis moving out of Milwaukee?
Listen, I'm not an insider like Bill Ryder here, and I learned my lesson the hard way with Bucks fans and putting out Giannis rumors. I'll tell that story that's a story for a different day, though. But I will say this. We actually, on Beyond the Arc, we had this conversation when the Bucks fired Adrian Griffin, who had a 30-13 record. Yes, defensively, there were things that they could have worked on, but you don't fire a coach with a 30-13 record. That is a winning record. If you look at the record with Doc Rivers, 19-23, that's a losing record. Now, Doc Rivers, I know there are things about him that people like in terms of experience, not necessarily winning experience. If we're going to be honest, he is supposed to be this defensive guru, but that's not showing itself in Milwaukee, and it makes you wonder what the leash is going to look like in terms of how much leeway you give Doc Rivers to mess up a team with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has already started breadcrumbing as we're talking about that if he is unhappy, he is going to take his talents elsewhere. You don't play with a franchise player like that. You keep him happy at all purposes necessary, right? Now, it is interesting because Giannis apparently had a hand in Adrian Griffin being fired and bringing Doc Rivers in, but sometimes hindsight is 20/20, and Giannis could be like, well, this is not working, fix it. I know it was part of my ideology to make this happen, but you better fix it. Dame and Giannis, they're not working. There's only so much time that you can give this situation because the East is very winnable for the Bucks if they, one, can stay healthy, and two, they have a coach that can help them win.
So, Bill, let's go down this path a little bit further then, and let's say that Giannis does force his way out of Milwaukee. What happens to Dame? What happens to Doc Rivers? Because you assume that means the team's not doing well.
Yeah, it's a good question. So my understanding, what I'm told, is that Doc Rivers is perfectly ensconced in that job, that he has won over the owner who runs that organization as the ultimate decision maker, and Doc's going to be there. So I think the answer is, what does Doc Rivers want to do? What does Doc Rivers want in return for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and does he want to try to build around Damian Lillard? I talked to several folks just for part of this story, including some GMs who just said, look, if you're going to move on from Giannis, you got to move on from Damian Lillard. Lillard is still an outstanding player. We've certainly seen that offensively, but he's not maybe the dynamic game changer that he was. It obviously hasn't worked with Giannis. And so the feeling out there is that if Giannis gets to a point where he says, basically, to hell with it, I want to go somewhere else, it's very likely the Bucks would decide to move on from Damian Lillard as well. And the irony here becomes, guys, that if that happens, they've got to decide in Milwaukee, and trading Giannis in theory and Damian Lillard in theory, do they go the route where they let those players somewhat decide where they want to be? Do they reward Giannis for the championship he brought several years ago by saying, what teams are you interested in? Or do they go the route that brought them Damian Lillard, what Portland did, and say, as one source put it to me, I don't care what the bleep you want, we're going to trade you where we get the best deal. That would be more like an Oklahoma City or a Utah. So you're right. Lillard probably goes on the market if Giannis eventually moves. And then the question becomes, does that Bucks front office, and I think it's really Doc Rivers pulling the strings, I'm told, decide to play nice with those players as they try to move them, or just ship them wherever they can get the biggest return?
Listen, in life, in love, and in sports, the grass is not always greener on the other side. You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, the Morning New York Yankees fan over here.
That's crazy. I'm a Wizards fan.
That's no slander this morning.
That's wild.
We got more hoops. Just facts. Just facts only. That's what we do here.
Well, I text Doc. Gave me some answers, sent me a text back. I guess he had some time. He said pace needs to be better. They're playing too slow. Giannis needs the ball. He said they're on defense, they're not physical enough, but he's not really concerned. I don't believe him, but he says he's not really concerned, and he said they need consistency.
I guess he's not concerned because of the small sample size, but what's the tone you're getting from these texts?
He's nervous. It's early, though. It's early.
Look, they're just really sloppy with the ball, and they haven't come out with the right level of focus. I think opening night, you're playing against the Sixers. It's a big game. Everybody's there. The last two games against the Bulls and the Nets, they didn't come out with the level of focus. First half yesterday, 10 turnovers in the first half. Giannis had 2 of those, okay? And so they just need to clean things up at the start to get on the same page. When you have Giannis saying, we don't have an identity after 3 games, that's a chilling statement.
Yeah, it is very chilling, especially when we see that the issues with defense sort of have not really been addressed through 3 games. But we know it's a very, very small sample size. So, Bobby, what can the Bucks do?
Well, I'm the one who said buy stock in Milwaukee before the season. And I'm not saying you should buy more, but don't sell right now. But I have
So it's a hold rating?
Yes, we're holding right now. My concern is those 2 games you gave up 67 points to Cam Thomas and Kobe White. Your perimeter defense is poor right now. And if you're waiting for Chris Middleton to come back and fix that, that's not going to happen here. So, as you said, they're in Boston tonight against the defending champs, who will embarrass them if Milwaukee plays like they did last night in Brooklyn.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jay from Jaggy Sports here. So, 1 week into the NBA, and we already have drama. OKC, Boston Celtics, and the Cavs look really good. Who doesn't look really good are one, Denver Nuggets, who failed to, give KCP a contract, failed to give Bruce Brown a contract, and, they could have repeated, but they didn't do that. So I thought the Denver Nuggets were kind of being a little bit cheap. But, you still got the MVP, Joker, so maybe they could pull off something. Another team that we're going to talk about today are the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks are quite interesting. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Giannis, tweet this morning, Giannis, if expected to trade, he has interest in joining the Brooklyn Nets or the Miami Heat. Now, this is quite the turn of events because, it was like last September or something like that, where Damian Lillard wanted to get traded and his preferred destination was the Miami Heat. Then all of a sudden, the Giannis and Milwaukee Bucks traded for him, and they traded Drew Holiday away. That was a dumb move. They traded Drew Holiday away to get Damian Lillard. That team was bad. They fired Adrian Griffin, who had a winning season, just like you saw in the clip, for Doc Rivers, who ended up with a losing season. So go figure. Now all of a sudden, things are not going well in Milwaukee. You brought in a couple pieces, Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, and Darvin Ham as an assistant coach, and still you are not doing well at all. That chemistry doesn't look good, Giannis and Dame, and now you have Giannis's preferred destination as in the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets. Now, this is preliminary stages of what's happening right now, preliminary talks of what's happening right now, but where there's smoke, there's fire, right? If the Milwaukee Bucks keep continuing to trend downhill, you can expect this trade to occur this year. So my question to you guys is this trade going to happen before the trade deadline, or where do you see Giannis as a best fit? The Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets? Or can it be any other team that comes in the last minute and makes a crazy deal? Like, we all know that OKC Thunder have like 17 first-round picks. So they could use that to get Giannis, because Giannis is not on an expiring deal. Also, if they're not going to trade Giannis, Draymond Green and Baron Davis said it on their podcast. Baron Davis goes, they need a playmaker like Ben Simmons. I know that the Brooklyn Nets would love to get that contract off their books because he's making $40 million a year right now. So to trade Ben Simmons away, it was almost as if, hey, trade this guy away. We don't want to keep paying this guy. But now he's on an expiring deal. So it could be like a couple first rounders for Ben Simmons if they go that route. Doc Rivers, like you just heard, has the ear of the owner. So who knows? Who knows? Because the Bucks do not look good at all. I like the Bucks. They're a good team, but quite frankly, ever since the Dame trade, they have not done well at all. Right? And it's just, the thing is, you kind of want Giannis to get another chip, but I don't know if it's going to happen again in Milwaukee. If it does, they need a trade. They need a trade to bring in somebody and take out somebody. But if they want to, appeal to the interest of Giannis, who has preferred destination as Miami or the Brooklyn Nets, maybe that's the case. So again, my question is, does Giannis get traded this year? And does he get traded to Miami or Brooklyn? Where does he best fit? Does OKC Thunder come in at the last minute and make a deal? Who knows? Who knows? Leave a comment in the comment section. As always, Jag from Jaggy Sports.